Question number 2, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Minister.
With permission, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to answer questions 2 and 3 together. Our schools, colleges and teachers are committed to supporting all pupils and students to thrive and reach their potential in a safe and respectful environment. Gender can be a complex and sensitive matter for schools, which is why we are working with my right honourable friend, the Minister for Women and Equalities, to develop guidance for schools in relation to gender questioning pupils. We will be finalising the draft guidance shortly and will hold a full public consultation on it.
John Nicholson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The member for Murray appears to think that drag story time in Elgin is one of the most pressing issues facing the country today. What signal does the Minister think that sends out to vulnerable and bullied trans and other LGBT children?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we know this is a complex and a sensitive issue, and many schools already deal with these issues relating to gender questioning children and also to the other issues the honourable gentleman refers to. But some schools do feel they need more support in order to help pupils and their parents and to deal with concerns being raised, which is why we are producing draft guidance for schools, which we will publish soon, followed by a public consultation.
Ben Bradshaw.
In April, the Sunday Times reported that the government intended to instruct schools to tell parents if their students were questioning their gender identity. Given that 1/3 of LGBT young people would not feel confident to come out to their parents, a quarter of homeless young people are LGBT young people who've been chucked out of their homes by their families, and given the NSPCC says you should never, ever disclose someone's gender identity or sexuality against their will, except in exceptional circumstances around safeguarding, does he agree with me that to instruct schools to out pupils to their families would be totally outrageous?
Well, there is a difference, Mr. Speaker, between advice between a child and a particular teacher, but parental involvement is paramount in decisions about their children, and it is crucial that schools work to ensure that parents are involved in decisions about their children. And we will be publishing the draft guidance shortly, and there will be a full public consultation on our proposed approach.
Sir Peter Bottomley, Fatherhouse.
Can I say to the Minister that we need to trust parents, and we should tell children to trust parents, and that we're right not to confuse sexual orientation, gender confusion and other things. And schools really do need to say to children and to parents, you can trust us as a school to let you know if your child's in distress.
Minister.
Well, I agree with my right honourable friend, but parental involvement is important in all these matters. They are very sensitive matters. There is a difference between what the honourable gentleman, the right honourable gentleman, spoke about, where a child who is confused about their sexual orientation or other personal problems having a confidential discussion with a teacher. It's a difference between that and big decisions about gender transitioning, for example, where parental involvement is important, and any decision about such matters does need to be taken with parental involvement.
William Cates.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last year, a YouGov poll found that around 80% of schools now have pupils who are trans-identified. And Policy Exchange recently reported that 4 in 10 schools are operating policies of gender self-identification. Now, Dr. Hilary Cass has said that social transition is not a neutral act, but a psychological intervention with unknown consequences for children's welfare. So does the Minister agree with me that the new guidance for schools must make clear that teachers are not qualified to make this psychological intervention, that the only safe approach is to protect children according to their biological sex?
Well, as my honourable friend will know, we are now producing guidance for schools on this very sensitive matter, and draft guidance will be available shortly, and we'll consult on it. And to provide the clearest possible guidance, we are intending to consider pieces of work such as Dr. Hilary Cass's independent review of gender identity services to children and young people, which of course is still ongoing.
Dame Angela Riedel.
Mr. Speaker, there is very good guidance already which the NSPCC have written, and I hope the Minister will be taking account of that as he develops the government's guidance. Does he agree with me that this is a situation now that's been very, very highly politicised by particular people to the detriment of those children and the teachers that are trying to do their best in difficult circumstances. So will he explain why on earth it's taken the government this long to publish guidance, essentially leaving teachers without government guidance in a very, very contested area? When will he actually support the work that teachers do?
Minister.
We do take into account advice from experts such as the NSPCC in drafting our guidance, and of course Dr. Hilary Cass, as I've just mentioned to my honourable friend. Look, we have to get this guidance right. It is a very sensitive matter. The drafting is happening right now, and it will be published shortly in draft, and then there'll be a full public consultation to make sure that all views are taken into account.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Recent research by Policy Exchange suggests that over 60% of schools do not reliably inform parents when their children express a wish to change gender. Many parents are very concerned about schools keeping them in the dark about such important changes concerning their children. So can the Minister please confirm that parents must be kept informed of such an important change in behaviour of their child?
As I've said, Mr. Speaker, parental involvement is paramount in any decisions about their children, and it is important that schools do work to ensure that parents are consulted before any decisions are made regarding a child socially transitioning. And these are issues that we are thinking about and discussing with experts as we draft the guidance, which will be published shortly and then will be available for public consultation.
Secretary of State Annalise Dodds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Schools, parents and pupils who need guidance on these issues are sick and tired of reading conflicting rumours about the government's plans in the newspapers. Will the Minister confirm that the reason for the delay is because the Minister for Women and Equalities doesn't agree with the Education Secretary, who doesn't agree with the Minister for Children, who doesn't agree with the Prime Minister?
No, we're working very closely with my right honourable friend, the Minister for Women and Equalities, and we are consulting experts on drafting very comprehensive guidance on a very sensitive matter. We need to get this guidance right. Many schools are dealing with these issues day in, day out very successfully, but some schools, as the Honourable Lady says, do want advice. They want good quality advice. That guidance is being drafted right now, and it will be published very shortly, and then it will be available for public consultation.
Annalise Dodds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've had noises off about this in the newspapers and rumours for over a year, and still no delivery. The sad truth is that schools are being left in limbo by a government that's yet again focused on internal battles. Its LGBT action plan collapsed. It's at war over banning conversion therapy, and it's now squabbling over schools' guidance too. Will the Minister apologise to the LGBT+ people who've been failed by this playground politics?
You know, there are a range of views, as we've seen in the newspapers, but the government is united in being determined to have very high-quality guidance for schools. This guidance is being drafted. It's in a very good state, and it's ready for publication. It will be published shortly, and then there will be a full public consultation to make sure that all those views that are expressed in newspapers by the honourable member, by honourable members and right honourable members right across this House, can be taken into account as we finalise that important guidance for schools.
Liz Twist.